Welcome back, peeps, and today what we're going to be doing is another read aloud of The Wondrous World of Utopia. We're going to be doing chapter 7 and hopefully 8 if we have enough storage for that, and maybe even more if we have enough storage for that. And today, and right now, we're going to be starting on chapter 7, which is Cookie Cutter Squid. Kind of like cookie cutter sharks, but it's squid. So let's dive in, shall we? The cookie cutter squid is named so because of its feeding habits, which will be discussed later. The cookie cutter squid grows to about 3 inches long, and it weighs about 5 grams, so about the size of a praying mantis, which is kind of microscopic compared to the last 4 creatures that we discussed: giant pill bugs, giant terrestrial octopuses, giant monsters that looked like avocados, giant eels, giant leeches. Here we're taking a little bit of a break from the giant stuff, and we're going to move on to this little squid here, which is about praying mantis sized. They are related to the slopsters, but they are obviously a lot smaller, as in the slopsters are about twice the size of a car, and these squid are the size of a mantis. They live in bushes and are attached to rocks. They live in bushes and attached to rocks, waiting for their prey. They will lay tiny eggs that are small enough to float in the wind, kind of like a dandelion. When you blow on it, it gets spread off in the wind, or like fungus spores. The squid lay these, and they spread. Because of this, they live on every continent except Abeja, which I'm going to show you a quick glance of Abeja. This side, that that hectagon-shaped planet that has half green, half white. This side has deciduous forests, but it has extremely cold winters that happen kind of like in Antarctica or Alaska. This side is almost completely frozen constantly, so there's not much you're going to find on Abeja because it's that cold at times. Let's see, where were we? They live on every continent except Abeja, which is freezing cold, as I discussed. The cookie cutter squid is neither an herbivore nor a carnivore. We're getting into something new now. They are parasites, feeding on billers, specifically. They will detach from the bushes or the rocks, and they will land on the biller's exoskeleton. And if you are familiar with billers, you should know that they are those giant pill bugs that have the base organ. And they have that orange blood and all that stuff, and they're very big. Sliding their tentacles in between the armored plating, where it is very difficult to get them off, and then they will attach with their suction cups. Now we're going to get to why they're called cookie cutter squid. They will then use a circular shaped plate to carve a circular hole in the biller's exoskeleton, which is why they are called cookie cutter squid. They will then insert a proboscis or a proboscis into the open wound it has created and start drinking the biller's orange-colored blood. They will also inject a chemical that prevents the blood from clotting so that they can easily just slurp it up. They will then swell up. When finished, the squid will swell up into a ball 5 times its original size, and they will be unable to move during this time. After this, the blood near the hole in the biller's shell will calcify, but that area will itch intensely for up to 3 days, which means that the biller cannot scratch this itch unless it molts and scratches the skin underneath, because that's an exoskeleton. They have an average lifespan of 10 years, and that wraps up cookie cutter squid. Now we're going to get on to chapter 8, which is ambush prawns. We have a little bit of a prawn right here. Ambush prawns are exactly what they sound like, though they are much bigger than normal prawns. They look like this, but bigger. So, you can see here is a picture of a giant river prawn, which is not nearly as big as the ambush prawn, but of course ambush prawns don't exist, so that's the closest picture I could get. So that's what an ambush prawn looks like, just a lot freaking bigger. They are a species of alipod. Again, alipod. You may think that these are crustaceans, things that look like crustaceans. Billers, pillbugs, crustaceans. Nope. Ambush prawns, crustaceans. Nope. These are alipods, which is like Allosaurus, which means different lizard. This means different foot or different leg, limb. I think that's what pod means. They are alipods, a family of creatures that also includes billers. They are analogous to crustaceans on Earth. They grow up to 20 feet in length, not including their giant claws, and they weigh about 1 ton. So they're about the size of a smallish car. But the long arms can be as long as 40 feet. So the whole prawn, with claws included, can be up to 60 feet long. But without the claws, they're about 20 feet. They're usually brownish green in color, which allows them to blend in with their environment and hide from prey and predators. Ambush prawns are native to Plutonia, eastern Lemonada, and Alberia, staying in rivers and in forests. But they are an invasive species in Abigalia. They were originally brought here when the bubbleheads would ride their billers across the lakes and the seas. They live in freshwater, but they migrate to the ocean to lay their eggs. They instinctively only do this when Beacon is in its waxing gibbous phase. They have great memory and will migrate to the same ocean every time they breed. And like sea turtles, one of these prawns can lay 2,000 eggs in one sitting, and they always travel in groups. This provides an all-you-can-eat buffet for creatures like pinecone puffers, boulderfish, giganta-rays, and megalodons, which are all creatures that are reserved for a later time. I'm not going to spoil the surprise on what those things are, so I'm going to leave you to imagine that. In fact, better yet, post your opinions on what you're going to think that list of creatures are going to be in the comments, if you will. They communicate in the polar opposite way to billers. So billers base, and the basing is very deep and very low. But rather than basing, these prawns screech extremely loud. The screech is so loud that they can make your ears bleed, and it sounds similar to like the sound an elk makes. The ambush prawn is mostly carnivorous. It feeds mostly on abelopods, but they will also eat plants if extremely desperate, because they can digest plants, but they prefer meat. They have a very clever and bizarre way of ambushing their prey, and it involves their burrows. The burrows they dig are deep, square-shaped reservoirs, and the entrance to the actual burrow is underwater. They dig a tunnel in the burrow that is connected to a river to ensure that it is filled with water at all times. The prawn will lay motionless in the square-shaped lake that it has created, with nothing but its eyes, antennae, and gigantic claws exposed. When the prey item gets within striking distance, to soak or lay their eggs or drink water or something of that nature. Let me get to this page. Okay, I hate when the pages get stuck together. They're so like microscopic that it's hard to like get the little gap in between. Don't you just hate when book pages get stuck together? It comes to soak or lay their eggs. The prawn will use its powerful tail to launch itself out of the water, grab the prey with its claws, and drag it into the burrow. The mouths are not really that big, so they take their sweet time when they're eating. So being eaten by one of these creatures would be very slow and very painful, unless you drown first, because they're going to take little bites out of your flesh at a time, because their mouths are not really big enough to take huge chunks. Their main predators include lobsters and megalodons. Ooh, that was just Big Bill croaking. They have a lifespan of 120 years, and that is where we will wrap up, and we will continue more tomorrow. Thanks for watching, peeps.